Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are opening a file on, well, arguably the most documented figure of antiquity, Jesus of Nazareth. But before you think this is a sermon, just hold on. We're stripping away the stained glass.
Exact.
Our mission is to look at the stratification of data, the history, the archaeology, the legal stuff, and see if the narrative actually holds up against the grit of the first century.
We're moving beyond the theology to look at the soil and stone. And, the sources paint this fascinating picture of a collision between Roman imperial logistics and Jewish religious life.
A reconstructed crime scene, almost.
You could say that, yeah.
So let's start with that soil and stone. I saw this term in the research, the stone vessel revolution. It sounds a bit like an indie band, doesn't it?
It does. But it's actually a huge dating marker for archaeologists. Huge.
Okay, how so?
Well, excavations in Judea show this massive spike in stone vessels right in the first century. The context is purity loss. Unlike clay, stone was considered impervious to ritual impurity. So if a clay pot gets unclean, you meant to smash it. A stone one, you just wash it.
Which connects directly to the text. In the wedding at Cana, John's gospel explicitly mentions 6 stone water jars.
Yes, for the Jewish rites of purification.
It's such a tiny detail, but it tells you the writer wasn't just making it up 100 years later.
Yeah.
They knew the specific material culture of that time.
Precisely. It anchors the story in a specific time and place. And this goes for geography, too. Take the Magdala stone.
Okay.
For decades, skeptics argue that any mention of synagogues in Galilee was, anachronistic, that they didn't really exist there yet.
And then, was it 2009, they dig one up in Magdala?
They find a first-century synagogue, and inside, a stone reading table carved with temple imagery, including a menorah.
Wow.
It just completely reversed the skepticism. It showed the synagogue network was active and deeply connected to Jerusalem.
Okay, so the stage is set. Let's talk about the cast. Because usually in ancient history, the villains are just names on a page.
Yeah.
But here we have actual, receipts.
We do. The 2 main antagonists are authenticated by artifacts. You've got the Pilate stone found at Caesarea Maritima.
Which confirms his title as prefect, right?
His specific title, yes. And then you have the Caiaphas ossuary, a bone box with the remains of the high priest's family. These weren't just characters in a story. They were real people.
Speaking of hard evidence, we have to talk about the forensics of the crucifixion itself. The sources mention a man named Yohanan.
It's pretty gruesome, but it completely changes how we understand the burial narrative.
How so?
Yohanan was a crucifixion victim. He was found in a tomb with a nail still hammered through his heel bone.
And that matters because the standard argument was that Rome just left rebels for scavengers. No proper burials.
Exactly. So Yohanan proves 2 things. 1, nails were definitely used, not just ropes. And 2, crucially, some victims were allowed a proper burial.
So the account of Joseph of Arimathea claiming the body, it isn't just wishful thinking. It actually fits the forensic reality.
It fits.
Okay, let's pivot to the most controversial part. The resurrection. How do you even investigate something like that historically?
Well, there's a method called the minimal facts approach.
From Gary Habermas.
Right. And it's so interesting because it bypasses the whole is the Bible inspired debate. It only uses data that the vast majority of critical scholars, even skeptics, accept as historical fact.
So what's on the list?
Fact 1, Jesus died by crucifixion. Fact 2, the disciples had experiences that they truly believed were appearances of a risen Jesus.
They believed it. Okay.
Fact 3, they transformed from, terrified deserters into martyrs willing to die for that belief. And fact 4, you have the conversion of major skeptics like Paul and Jesus' brother James.
That willingness to die part is key. People will die for a lie, sure, but they don't die for a lie they know is a lie.
That is the psychological wall. And then you bring in someone like Simon Greenleaf from Harvard Law. He applied the ancient document rule to the Gospels.
Yeah, I love this bit. He argues that the discrepancies, like how many angels were at the tomb, 1 or 2, are actually marks of authenticity.
It's completely counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you think like a lawyer, if 4 witnesses tell a story with 0 variation, you suspect they got together and rehearsed it.
Collusion, the little differences suggest independent observation.
Exactly. And we can't ignore the textual evidence. We have over 5,800 Greek manuscripts for the New Testament.
Compared to what, less than 20 for an author like Tacitus?
It's not even close. This is the most well-attested text of antiquity. The Jesus of history is anchored in data, not just myth.
So it all brings us back to a final provocative question based on those minimal facts, right? If the disciples' hallucinations can't explain the empty tomb, and the stolen body theory can't explain their willingness to die for their belief, then what actually happened to cause that transformation?
That's the question.
Something for you to chew on. Thanks for diving in with us.